Hi, Pecanwood College. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tarryn Felton. I am an educational psychologist at Pecanwood, and I'm here to talk to you about what's on everyone's lips, COVID-19 pandemic. Um, so I think that the whole pandemic has created an experience of chaos and uncertainty and confusion for many of us as adults. And I think although we're all in the same boat, our experiences aboard this boat have been significantly different from one family to the next. And that's purely because we just have different family dynamics, different personalities within a family, and we all live in different kind of houses. Some of us have gardens, some of our gardens are bigger than others. Some people live on farms out here. So our experiences vary vastly from one family to the next. But I do think that it has created a lot of confusion and chaos amongst a lot of us. Something summed it up. I read something on social media the other day that summed it up for me quite nicely. It said, "You are not working from home. You are at your home during a crisis, trying to work." And that summed it up nicely for me because I thought to myself, that's so true. I think a lot of people went into this thinking it's going to be a bit of time off. A bit of downtime, but I think we've all started to slowly learn that we have to maintain that role of that we play at work. And not only that, we've been thrown into the situation where we've had to take on a role of a teacher, take on a role of a friend, and we still have to maintain that parental role as well. I think the parental role has become somewhat confusing because our children are also in this situation of chaos and uncertainty and confusion, which makes parenting slightly different to what it was prior to going into lockdown. And we'd be foolish to think that this pandemic hasn't affected our children, that this lockdown hasn't had some kind of effect on our children. It has had a major effect on, I think, pretty much everybody in this world. So I was even thinking the other day, my daughter ran into my room and she said, all dressed in a dress, ready to go. She said to me, "Mommy, can we go out today?" And I said to her, "We're still not allowed to. We have to stay at home because it's still lockdown. We can't go anywhere." And her next words were, "But Mommy, how many sleepies until we're allowed to go out?" All of four, and she can also see that this is a strange situation that she's experiencing at the moment. So, how can you support your children through this time? Firstly, I'm not sure how many families actually sat down and had a discussion with their children about the pandemic and about lockdown. I know that I didn't. The little bit that my children knew was purely what came from school in terms of what discussions were had in class about washing hands and that kind of thing. But I didn't have a big discussion with them. And we need to know that a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding creates confusion and can create some level of anxiety as well. So I'd like to encourage you to speak to your children about this thing that's happening. I know that we don't always understand everything that's going on as well, but as far as possible, I think it's really important that you explain to them what's going on as far as what you know. And then because it just lowers their levels of anxiety, there's a lot less stress experienced and a lot less anxiety experienced when you do have these discussions. And I'd like to encourage you to also speak about how this affects you as a family, how it affects you as individuals, and how things might change in their environment, just to make it a little bit more predictable, because a lot less anxiety is experienced when a child knows. So, as far as possible, try have discussions around what is going on in the world around them. Secondly, routine. And I think a lot of us have heard, a lot of talk around routine and getting into a routine with your work and getting into your kids into a routine of doing their schoolwork. But from an emotional perspective, routine and structure create a predictable environment, and children thrive in a predictable environment. So, as far as possible, try and make it as predictable as possible for your children from day to day. They feel safe and secure when they know what's going to happen from day to day. What I've done for my kids is I put a piece of string up, almost like a washing line, and I made little cards. So wake up, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, get dressed. And then, so that's pegged on the little washing line. And every day I structure it according to whatever meetings I might have or whatever. And I haven't named our work time work time. I said it's quiet time where we sit down and we actually do work. But I try and move those little cards around at night before they get up so that they know when they wake up in the morning, if they follow their little cards for the day, they know exactly what it is that is expected of them for the day. That's just an idea that you could possibly use so that little children, especially with little children, so that they can know exactly what is expected, what activity happens next. Thirdly, acknowledge feelings. It's really important that you name feelings, that you speak about emotions and what frustrates them and that kind of thing. With little children, sometimes it's a little bit hard, and even with older kids, sometimes don't want to talk. But there's a massive part of modeling that can happen here. So I think it's very important for children to see their moms and dads say things like, "I really miss my friends. I'm feeling sad today." It's important for them to hear that that's normal and that other people are feeling that as well. So with little children, they express their emotions and express a lot through play. They experience life through play, and they learn so much through play. So watch out for their play. I've noticed that my children are at the moment playing a lot of doctor, hospital, ambulance, that kind of thing. And I think it's just because they associate illness with doctors and ambulances and helping, and so that's why they're playing it out like that. A lot of the time, if you're playing with your children, you can actually jump in and say, "Wow, how would you feel if you were lying in the hospital bed, for example?" You know, there's so much that you could jump in and do to help your children in that scenario. For older children, I think it's really important that you keep those doors of communication open, that you ask questions like, "What is frustrating you? How is there anything I can do to help you? What's the one thing that you miss the most, or what are you grateful for, or whatever." But have discussions around their feelings around this whole pandemic and how it's affected them. Connection is so important. So social connections is vital. So as far as possible, try and stay in contact with friends and family. Video calls. I think we're all doing WhatsApp calls, any kind of video calls or chats that you could possibly have. Talk to your neighbor over the wall. I know we all wheel our braais out onto the pavement on a Sunday afternoon, and we talk across from property to property. And the kids are generally quite good. They stay in their own gardens. But not only connections with other people, I think connections within your family are also really important. You really need to find time to connect with your child in this time. So that time needs to be maintained. Make time for that physical closeness and that special time that you need to have with your child. That kindness and love and compassion makes children feel safe. And it makes them feel secure. So I think it's really important in this time that you hug a little bit more and show a little bit more affection than what you possibly normally would, just to reassure your child that things are going to be okay. Just a couple more things that I just want to mention. Try and stay positive. Your children feed off your feelings and emotions, and it's important that they see you are being positive about certain things as well. Secondly, laugh. Please have fun and have a good time. Have a dance competition in the lounge. Tickle your children. Have a sock war. Run around the house and throw socks at each other. Have fun and laugh. It's really important that you have a good time with your kids. And it's important that they can still feel that laughter as well. So please, on a daily basis, find something that you can make into a funny moment. And then lastly, I'd like to encourage each of you to start speaking to your kids or come up with an idea of how this is going to end. So have a discussion around, what are the top 3 things that you'd really like to do when lockdown is over. Alternatively, you could have plan a special dinner or special party or a special braai or something, some kind of celebration that you're going to have when lockdown is over. And it's not to say that you're writing in concrete when lockdown will be over. It's just saying that this will eventually end. There will be a finality. It will come to an end at some point. And when it does, this is what we're going to do to celebrate it. I think that's all. I hope you have been able to take something from what I've shared with you today. Yeah, thank you very much and stay safe.